These are some of the times when contestants try to take shortcuts, something that rarely, if ever, results in them coming out on top. And what this contestant did put her entire team in jeopardy. It was the Italian night dinner service, and Gail was working at the pasta station while Sabrina was manning the grill. Now, we all know that communication is the key to success, and when it comes to cooking, it also helps your teammates with timing. Because if the dish doesn't come together at the same time, you don't have a dish. However, when Gail tried to communicate with Sabrina, she really started to muddy the waters.
I'm gonna start my 2 spaghettis. No.
Just wait, please wait.
That's a great start to the night, right? And this wasn't the first time she screwed up. Oh, no. Just a few minutes earlier, she had managed to annoy Chef Ramsay by doing this.
Sabrina! How long? Is someone gonna give me an answer?
And after all that, instead of clearing the air, Sabrina doubled down. Before that though, she made one thing clear.
Everybody thinks that I'm stupid, but you know what? I'm one manipulative motherfucker.
At this point, we could all guess that she was already up to something. And as expected, Sabrina put her plan into action to try and make Gail look bad.
Sabrina, what are you doing? Bring it up. Everything has to go out at the same time.
Since Sabrina intentionally failed to communicate with Gail, Gail had to hurry and take the pasta to the pass. Chef Ramsay, who was blind to Sabrina's scheme, ended up berating Gail.
You're the most experienced. All these f***ing gaps in between the dishes going out is not good enough.
Like seriously, what did you even have to gain here, Sabrina? All you had to do was give out the right timing and everything would have been fine, but you decided to play dirty. Like, I can't get into Sabrina's headspace. She needs her teammates in order to win the service, right? Sure, individual performances matter, but winning as a team is way more important. But hey, at least the entire team didn't plot against Gail, right? What the heck would you even do in that situation? Well, that's what happened to Elsie Ramos, one of the most genuine chefs from season 1. Now, okay, some of you might consider her to be overrated, but for me, she was one of the underdogs. And I love a good underdog story. Anyway, as usual, Hell's Kitchen is a competition that only has a single winner, right? Still, at the end of the day, the contestants have to work as a team in order to get to that final service. On day 8, Ralph, Jessica, and Michael put their heads together and unanimously decided that it was time to get rid of Elsie. However, I felt that the main reason they did this was because Elsie won the leftover challenge. Yup, they pulled this stunt because they were jealous and threatened. While the three had some admittedly gourmet food to impress Chef Ramsay, Elsie on the other hand made a very simple chicken soup. At first, just going by the looks of it, there was nothing appetizing about it. I was wondering what she was thinking at that point. But before I reveal how it actually tasted, give me your guesses in the comment sections down below, yay or nay.
First thing I'm nervous about is the color. It looks like something out of a Suez Canal.
Go on, I'll give you a minute. Well, as the saying goes, don't judge a book by its cover. Chef Ramsay obviously wasn't too impressed with how the soup looked, but when he tasted it, this is how he reacted.
That's delicious.
Ralph and Jessica seemed to be incredibly surprised by the compliment, but when Elsie was declared the winner, the blood drained from their faces. They couldn't believe that they lost to a plain old chicken soup. Well, here's the thing, you idiots. Just because it's simple doesn't mean it isn't delicious, right? Could the plating have been better? Sure, but it was still good enough to win. Anyway, Ralph and Jessica were so pissed, but what they went on to do next really showed how immature they were. They actually went and tasted Elsie's soup just to figure out what was so good about it. I can smell something burning.
I want to try it.
Like they really couldn't believe that it was good.
The next day, when Michael and Ralph saw Elsie's appearance on Good Day Live, they got even more pissed. Damn, you could say that their hatred was palpable.
I would much rather it had been me, but it was her, so be it.
She's a little older and, so were those women, so I think she got to kind of bond as far as that goes.
This was the very moment when the three contestants put their heads together and plotted against Elsie. Well, of course they did help her earlier. Teamwork makes the dream work, right? But in this case, come what may, they wanted Elsie out. And what can I say other than their plan worked flawlessly? During the dinner service, when Elsie was at the appetizer station, she ran into some issues and was struggling at her station. And like always, when she asked her usually very supportive teammates for some help, they all gave her the silent treatment.
The rest of the sauce, Ralph.
Yeah, that actually happened. They straight up ignored her. Talk about being rude. I feel so bad for her. As Elsie continued to struggle, Chef Ramsay was also struggling, to keep us cool that is. Finally though, the famous chef snapped at Elsie, and oh how these traitors loved every moment of it.
Interesting.
What, the private one-on-one instead of the screaming?
Yeah, totally.
Poor Elsie knew exactly what was happening, and I mean, you'd have to be dumb to not figure out that your team was plotting against you. It truly broke my heart when she went to the bathroom to cry.
You know, right now, I feel like a total outsider.
Why can't people just play a fair game? Who knows, maybe tomorrow it'll be your turn to shine. But in Elsie's case, she never got that chance. That night, she was called down by Chef Ramsay, and when he asked her if she got the support she needed from her team, instead of telling the truth, she lied.
You got the support from 3 of your colleagues.
Yes, I did.
Elsie could have easily told the truth, but she decided to save her team's sorry asses. She probably knew they would continue doing the same thing if she persisted. But talk about taking the high road. That speaks volumes about Elsie's maturity. Sadly, of course, she was eliminated for being the worst on the team that day, but Elsie, we're proud of you at least. The world knows what went down with those 3 clowns. But that wasn't the first time a contestant was targeted by the entire team. This next contestant was portrayed by her team for having less experience than them. Meet Nikki, who proved to her teammates that a lack of experience doesn't mean a lack of passion. After all, Nikki's growth in Hell's Kitchen was remarkable. Although she didn't have an impressive start during her first dinner service, Nikki soon bounced back. And from there, she shot off like a rocket. Unfortunately, her teammates weren't as pleased as she was. During the second dinner service, after the red team gave a disastrous performance, Nikki was considered a liability even though she did nothing wrong that night. So, when the red team was discussing nominees, Jordan nominated Nikki solely based on her lack of experience. Are you serious, Jordan? She didn't make a single mistake that night. In fact, you should be the one getting nominated. I mean, what the actual hell is this supposed to be?
Purely based on tenure and experience, I'd have to go Nikki.
But Jordan wasn't the only one who had a bone to pick with Nikki. Amber actually also agreed. And her defense for nominating Nikki was ridiculous. Now listen to this and tell me if it makes any sense whatsoever.
You haven't run a brigade that big, so I don't know. I don't know what your skill set would be like as a leader.
After that, Mary Lou also joined in with the ganging up against Nikki. No, for real though, seriously? How is a lack of experience the same as giving a poor performance? You're supposed to nominate people based on their performance, not their resume. But it makes me wonder, why didn't anyone speak up against Fabiola or Jordan? Anyway, during the deliberations, when the red team announced their nominees, Chef Ramsay was amazed, especially when Nikki's name came up.
What did you do wrong tonight?
Nothing, Chef.
Honestly, Cyan disagreed with Nikki's nominee back in the dorm, but fell in lockstep solely because of the votes.
Explain that one to me.
She tried to explain to Chef Ramsay why the red team decided to nominate Nikki.
As far as running a brigade, she wasn't going to be strong enough.
The famous chef knew how unfair it was for Nikki, and she knew it as well as he did.
Nikki, do you feel that's fair?
Not particularly, Chef.
Ramsay was pissed to see the red team making a joke of the nominations.
I expect you to take this seriously, but from where I was standing, you have the wrong two.
He then voided both nominations and turned the tables, nominating Jordan and Fabiola instead. Talk about a plot twist. Everyone that nominated Nikki must have really had their pride hurt. Imagine Chef Ramsay screwing you over like that. Back at the dorms, Nikki was frustrated with the red team for not believing in her, understandably, but Amber was sticking with her defense.
You're not doing that? No, I don't agree with it.
Amber went on about how she was an executive chef since she was 25 years old, and that if she was sent home over Nikki, she would go insane.
You don't just throw somebody into that job.
What Amber said next was utter nonsense.
You haven't managed a staff that large. You're not gonna beat everybody in the end and get the job.
If Nikki's performance gave her a sous chef position, that meant she earned it. No two ways about it, right? Nikki kept trying to reason with her, but I don't think it worked.
You don't truly know my experience. You can't base your entire opinion off of my resume.
Amber's attitude really pissed off a ton of fans of the show. Because of that, she received a lot of hate. But here's the thing, after Hell's Kitchen, Amber turned over a new leaf and helped Nikki by getting her a job and taking her under her wing. I guess someone learned their lesson. But not everyone can have this sort of personal growth. This next contestant was nominated by someone who screwed up even more than she did. Meet Jennifer, one of the sweetest and nicest contestants on Hell's Kitchen. Man, it always happens to the sweethearts, doesn't it? That aside, how can we forget her rivalry between her and Elise? Seeing them back in season 17 was surprising and made me wonder if they would keep their feud going a second time around. Because, well, season 9 was on fire. I know she didn't perform well that night, but Elise made way more mistakes than her. It was the second blackjack at dinner service, and the expectations that Chef Ramsay set for the final 5 didn't live up to the disappointment they ended up serving up. After a horrible showing, the final 5 were kicked out of the kitchen. It's an understatement to say that Chef Ramsay was embarrassed.
All of you, off out of here. All of you, get out.
While discussing the nominees in the dorms, Elise decided to play it safe by going over to Will and Paul. She tried to convince them to nominate Jennifer by calling her the weakest chef. But that wasn't the only thing she said.
I promise if you will defend me to the end, I will have your back because I will look out for you. I know you're better than me.
If Will and Paul took half a second to use their brains, they would know that Elise never had anyone's back. Never has, never will. She would throw anyone under the bus to save her own skin. Jennifer understood what was going on, and she hoped that Paul and Will wouldn't fall for Elise's manipulation. In the previous dinner service, Jennifer was worried that it could be her last day on Hell's Kitchen. But if that was her fate, she decided to not go out with a bang, but with an "aw, that's so cute."
I got a huge crush on you, just like day one.
You're so cute. I love you too, Jen.
After seeing that, what Paul did to her during the deliberations was infuriating. Jennifer was named the first nominee and Elise the second. During their pleas, an argument broke out between them after Elise had the audacity to call herself a leader.
I'm a leader,
But the
and I
problem
can
is
do
you
better.
argue with everyone.
No, I didn't argue with anyone tonight.
You argue with me?
Well, Elise, a leader doesn't throw people under the bus like that. And it's hilarious she thought she never argued with anyone before.
There's a lot of stuff that
Stop.
What came next was treachery of the highest order. When Chef Ramsay asked who the weakest chef was between Jennifer and Elise, Paul and Will named Jennifer.
I think Elise is a stronger cook than Jennifer.
Are you serious?
Who's the worst cook?
Jennifer, chef.
Apparently, they forgot how many mistakes she made that night, let alone how many times she turned her back on her teammates in the past. Anyway, I love how Jennifer called them out on it.
I can't believe you two would actually sit here and say that she is better than me.
I am.
Elise tried to start another argument, but was shut down.
Totally the wrong way to go about this. You're going about this all wrong.
Okay.
God, they really did Jennifer dirty, didn't they? But I don't think I would say the same thing for this next chef, who, while they managed to impress Chef Ramsay, definitely didn't impress their team. Rochelle's personality stood out among the rest of the red team. She was amazing and very supportive. A textbook team player, right? However, the red team betrayed her. As for the reason why? Well, don't ask me, cause I definitely don't get the logic. I'll never understand how these nomination tactics work. They even nominated Scott for no reason. Just because you want a certain person gone, it doesn't mean they're gonna get eliminated. You have to have a good reason for it too. Anyway, moving along, the red team lost the creative pork challenge and were punished with extra work. They not only had to prepare peanuts for peanut butter, but they also had to do prep work for both kitchens. During the punishment, the red team got up close and personal with sous chef Andy, who in turn gave us a glimpse into her personal life. And well, she further revealed the sacrifices she made to get to where she was now.
Not married. I don't have kids.
Hearing this, Rochelle decided to share her journey as well.
I don't want to put off having a family and getting married like Chef Andy. I want to get married. I want to start a family right away.
Sometime later, Rochelle asked sous chef James if it was hard balancing his family and work life. This question is something many have asked working parents. After all, it can be really hard to balance both, and you can always learn a thing or two from another person's experiences, right?
I do want the family. I want to get married.
But the red team somehow assumed that Rochelle wasn't being serious about the competition or her career.
Rochelle wants to be a chef or a housewife.
Like, prioritizing family doesn't mean that someone isn't serious about their career, does it? Most do perfectly fine balancing both aspects of their lives.
You know, she wants a family and a husband. If she really wants to be Chef Ramsay's head chef, she can't do it.
But let's get back to the service though. That night, after both teams were declared joint losers, during the deliberations, Joy brought Rochelle's name up for elimination. Yeah, you heard me right. But let's be real, the only reason Joy wanted the red team to put Rochelle up for elimination was because she wanted Keisha to stay in the competition. But we know how spectacularly Keisha failed during the service.
Keisha, your gas is off.
Sandra tried to argue that Rochelle didn't make any mistakes that night, but Joy had plenty of dumb reasons to keep throwing out until something stuck. What's crazy is that except for Sandra, all the other contestants accepted what Joy had to say. Are these people for real?
She said her true passion is to start a family.
I thought about that too.
Even after that, Joy just kept going.
Her passion outside of here is starting to overtake what's going on in here right now.
Wait, what? I think Rochelle was way more passionate than Joy. I can't be alone in thinking that, right? What do you think? Let me know in the comments section down below. Anyway, during her plea, Chef Ramsay also expressed his concern as to why she was being nominated for elimination. He simply couldn't understand why. But Rochelle seemed to have it all figured out, and this is what she had to say.
We talk about the sacrifices that you have to make when it comes to family and marriage, but I wouldn't be here if I wasn't hungry for it.
I love the way she explained the situation to Chef Ramsay. Have you ever seen someone so calm and composed? If you ask me, she would have made a great head chef. But sadly, her teammates got their way. But what if I told you that one contestant had the nerve to serve Chef Ramsay this? Would you believe me? Well, you better start believing because it's all too real.
I'm a big lover of shrimp,
Okay.
but I'm not very good at eating shrimp and the sack.
It was the 300th dinner service, and the pressure in Chef Ramsay's kitchen was hotter than ever. Matthew found himself at the meat station alongside Peyton, and what's more, he knew that this was his last chance to prove himself. As Chef Ramsay let the entrees get started in both kitchens, Matthew saw his moment. He was assigned to handle the lamb, but when he brought it to the pass, this happened.
Sorry?
It's rare.
It's for pass me
Rob.
not. It's not funny, Matthew.
Anyway, he chewed out the entire team, ordering them to get their act together. Matthew, feeling like he was dragging the team down, stepped back and let Peyton take a man of the meat. Then came the VIP order, a make or break moment. But neither Matthew nor Peyton could remember what was on the order. Chef Ramsay couldn't believe his ears. He was livid that they could forget such a crucial detail and made them apologize to Mike Tyson.
It's going to be about another 10 minutes on that. Not a great feeling.
Desperation set in as Matthew tried to ensure the chicken was cooked perfectly. He resorted to a sneaky tactic. He pulled a digital thermometer from his pocket, thinking it would save the day.
Where the hell do we get digital thermometers?
Good question, dude. Well, I'll tell you one thing for sure. That's gonna bite him in the ass. Chef Ramsay, growing even more frustrated, asked for a time on the order, expecting a clear response. But chaos erupted as Peyton and Antonio, another chef, provided two different timings. At this point, the famous chef had had enough. He ordered the entire team to the front of the pass for an explanation. But Matthew only had excuses.
It's just really fast, and we're trying. And
Really fast?
Yes.
Chef Ramsay forced them to call out the order multiple times to ensure that they were on the same page. Finally, he ushered them into the pantry for a meeting where Antonio knocked some sense into him.
Pace is not an excuse. You're in a restaurant. It's not an excuse.
When the blue team came downstairs for the elimination, Chef Ramsay had this incredulous look on his face. He held up Matthew's abandoned meat thermometer, which he'd carelessly left behind.
Somebody sneaked a meat thermometer in here, still couldn't produce any cooked protein.
That had to have been humiliating as hell. Chef Ramsay then took a moment to remind Matthew of his previous screw-ups. Like the shitstorm during the signature dish challenge, that time he served up raw chicken in the alcohol challenge, and now the undercooked lamb during the dinner service. You could tell that the famous chef was clearly running out of patience with Matthew's, well, just Matthew, honestly.
Your attitude sucks. Therefore, I'm not listening to your Give me your jacket.
Brutal, right? But before Matthew walked out that door, Chef Ramsay had some parting words for him. He basically told him straight up that if he wanted to survive in this cutthroat culinary world, he needed to shape up and get his act together. Oh yeah, and he added this as well.
And the next time you decide to cook protein, use it properly.
It was pretty crystal clear. In Chef Ramsay's kitchen, nothing gets past him, and he expects nothing less than perfection. Matthew would have known how much Chef Ramsay hates thermometers had he watched season 10. Or just any other season for that matter. You gotta remember when this contestant was kicked out of the kitchen in the middle of service for doing the exact same thing, right?
A thermometer. The day we need that to cook a breast of chicken.
Well, I'm gonna lay it out for you either way. It was the Mexican night dinner service, and Barbie had frustrated Chef Ramsay at that point with her inconsistent muscles and complete refusal to accept Chef Christina's help despite how much she was struggling. And then using the thermometer to check the chicken's temperature? That was the nail in the coffin. What's the big deal about using them anyway though? You've got one, I've definitely got one, what gives? Well, I guess the reason might be that if you're a seasoned chef, you should have the skills to be able to know any given protein's temperature without relying on them. Chef Ramsay can gauge it by feel, but you can also determine it by slicing into the meat as a last resort anyway. I mean, they're in this competition to win a head chef role at one of his restaurants, so it's fair for him to expect those standards, right? And more practically, puncturing the meat with that giant metal rod will send those meat juices on a one-way trip out of the meat, drawing it out real quick while it rests. So if you thought Chef Ramsay was making a big deal out of nothing, well, you're kinda wrong. Anyway, up next we have Vinny, the self-proclaimed judge, jury, and executioner of the show. He was assigned as the assistant maître d' during the second service in season 8. This guy couldn't even remember which tables he was in charge of, and it took him a solid 30 minutes just to get his first order ticket to Chef Ramsay.
Vinny, are you trying to sabotage your own team?
No, not at all.
No, understand what you're doing. Own up to it.
Strike one. But then, this little backstabber did something even more awful.
I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. If you guys order sides, you're gonna be here till next Tuesday.
Okay, so trust issues aside, who gave you the right to make that call, huh? And oh, strike two by the way for those of you keeping score at home. Thankfully, James caught wind of Vinny's little scheme. He dragged Vinny over to the pass and laid it all out to Chef Ramsay. This move led to Vinny being summoned into the kitchen where he tried to explain himself. According to him, he only told the table to skip the sides because he knew Raj was slow.
Now Captain Vinny here is telling the customers not to order sides.
Man, don't do my homie Raj like that. Dude deserves better. And that is a hill I'd choose to die on any day of the week. Cause like, that isn't Vinny's place to decide. Only Chef Ramsay has that kind of authority.
You do not decide what goes out of this kitchen. Get out!
But anyway, strike three, you're out. Insubordination like that was immediate grounds for elimination in my opinion. I mean, look, we've seen contestants get the boot for way less than that. Chef Ramsay was honestly pretty lenient here. However, one might argue that his intentions were good.
I said exactly what was the truth, whether it was hard to swallow or not. I felt bad for the people.
I'd say that they were misguided though, but don't at me. Now, let's revisit the Alaskan Fish Challenge from season 14, shall we? In this challenge, Adam was paired up with Millie. In the beginning, he mentioned that the frigid waters gave him a bit of a startle when he grabbed the fish, but they managed to get their halibut pieces just right. So far so good. Chef Ramsay and Michael Simorusti were judging when he presented his dish, a pan-seared halibut served with grilled baby bok choy and basmati rice. Okay, so do you want the good news first, or the bad news? Good? Okay, I got you. The judges were reasonably pleased with the flavor of his fish. But here comes the bad news. This time, Adam found himself in hot water. Millie served his halibut with cheese with bell pepper rice, and the judges got this funny feeling.
Did you take some of Millie's rice? I'm sorry? I'm gonna cut the bullshit. Did you take Millie's rice?
They accused Adam and Millie of sharing ingredients. Well, did they?
I got that. Yeah?
Unfortunately, yes. Turns out, when they got down to it, Adam ran into a bit of a hiccup. His risotto, as it turns out, was seriously falling behind schedule. Dude was panicking. Millie, being the kind teammate that he is, came to the rescue by offering some of his own rice to help Adam out. At least Adam didn't try to deny it and fessed up to the whole ordeal.
Yes, sir.
But the famous chef wasn't about to give him a pass because of his honesty.
This was your dish. Absolutely, sir. So, no shared ingredients. You got it, chef. Not good.
Ouch. As a result, they lost the round, and the blue team ended up taking quite the hit in the challenge with a less than ideal score of 1-3. Well, I get it. Sharing is caring, but don't forget that you're in Hell's Kitchen. Of course, this video would be incomplete without mentioning this.
What do you want? Give me the tape. Give me the masking tape.
Oh, I gotcha.
Andrew here at least deserved props for ingenuity. Or at least, that's what a ton of fans think. Like this person right here who thinks he wasn't being a jerk at all. It was a smart move to eliminate a bottleneck in the process. But sous chef Scott didn't agree when he caught him straight in the act. Yeah, the silence was me trying to lift my jaw from the floor. No kidding, the man was like a hawk. But here comes one of the most hilarious moments from the show.
Look at the fillet!
Molested that poor thing. People have gone to jail for worse. Looks like he went with it with a jackhammer.
Yeah, Seth's filet fiasco. Our man was holding down the garnish station alongside Jay during the first seating of the steakhouse double service. As mind-bending as it may be, he had never prepped a filet before, so he asked Charlie for some help. And when Chef Ramsay asked, "Where's the filet?" instead of a straightforward answer, he saw Seth sneakily stashing something into the fridge.
2 minutes, chef.
Not a good look. It was all the wasted meat from the tenderloin, which had been butchered in the most disastrous way possible. It was quite the sight, and Chef Ramsay went absolutely in. He grabbed the tenderloin and flung it at Seth.
We fucking wasted the most expensive part!
But this reminds me of the time in season 3 when Jen thought it would be a smart move to toss out cooked spaghetti because, according to her, they wouldn't be needed. And what exactly happened next? Chef Ramsay asked for them on the very next ticket. And what did she do? She grabbed the discarded pasta from the trash and would have even served it to the customers if Julia didn't catch her in the act. No, it makes sense, right? The trash slurry adds that extra bit of umami. Anyway, back to Seth. Chef Ramsay wasn't gonna let him dodge responsibility.
I never butchered a fillet before, so congratulations, you just have.
And when Chef Ramsay gives you a nickname, it's never a term of endearment.
Hey, Forrest, come here, you. Keeps calling me Forrest. I think it's a great name.
Donut? Donkey? Dickface? Muppet? Gremlin? Take your pick, but all of them really just do a number on your confidence. Now fast forward to the second seating, where Seth switched roles and became a waiter. This is where the plan took a really interesting turn. Seth started bringing back steak orders, claiming that they were undercooked. But Chef Ramsay saw right through it. Those steaks were cooked to perfection, exactly as ordered. So why the sabotage?
We will do anything we have to do to win. We will take food back up. They sabotaged us first, so now it's open game.
You're the only one getting played, dude. Quit dicking around, because do you really think Chef Ramsay doesn't know about those shitty schemes of yours?
Hey, are you trying to stitch them? Not at all, Chef. Do you want to serve more food to slow them down? He just asked. Fuck off.
However, in the very next service, Seth was at it yet again.
What is he doing?
Yeah, he was wiping his face with a cloth and then wiping a fresh pan with that same dirty cloth. No, hear him out, you guys. Sweat's got salt in it, right?
If this one's for your fucking nose, where's your cooking cloth? I'll have to get my job. Fuck, William.
In all seriousness though, the guy gave me a bad feeling from the very start. Do you remember his reaction when Chef Ramsay complained how much he hated his signature dish?
That's the worst dish I've ever tasted. And you're laughing.
In hindsight, maybe it was a defense mechanism, who knows? Up next is Season 3's infamous wedding planning challenge. Our leading lady, Melissa, basically said, give us this day our daily duck breast. Now, you'd think this change would be smooth sailing, but hang tight, it's about to get really interesting. Jen had some reservations about the cooking time for the duck, but Melissa was firm in her decision. She felt like she was thrust into the leadership role, and she was gonna own it. So the women went along with Melissa's choice instead of the lamb. And honestly, they really shouldn't have. During the service, Melissa made it clear that the team should turn to her for guidance, just as Chef Ramsay wanted. Wait, what? Chef Ramsay never wanted that. Anyway, Julia decided to sear the duck breast, but Melissa had other plans. She butted in and told Julia to change her approach, all while tossing a little insult in Bonnie's way for good measure.
A little bit of knowledge of how to cook. Otherwise, you shouldn't be here. I thought that you knew how to cook too.
Ooh, big talk coming from someone who sucked big time. I mean, come on, her performance was atrocious. Those who have seen the season know what I'm talking about. Julia, trying to keep the peace, took the duck breast out of the oven to let it rest, but guess what? Melissa decided to put it back in to keep it quote-unquote warm. Genius! So, you'll take responsibility when it comes out overcooked, right?
I didn't make it overdone. Your job, your station. You stuck it back in the oven. Don't try it.
Exactly. She didn't even try to save face. This was clearly Raj level of incompetence. The wedding couple was gonna taste their dishes alongside Chef Ramsay, and that revelation sent a wave of panic coursing through her. Panicked, she tried to persuade Chef Ramsay that it would be a grave mistake to serve their dishes. She even pulled Jen aside and begged her to not serve their dish, insisting that a plain old duck breast wasn't gonna cut it. But Chef Ramsay was through with that crappy attitude of hers.
I'm starting to get pissed. Now, will you send your food?
Given how spectacularly she crashed and burned, she had a lot of nerve bossing around her team like that.
If anybody has a question, let's just ask me, since that's what the chef's been doing.
Cringe. Don't know how you feel about public declarations of love.
Will you marry me?
Now, we all sure love Ramsay's public declarations of disappointment.
You're safe, so you're sabotaging everybody else?
Absolutely not, Chef!
It's fucking raw!
Andrea, what a piece of work you are. In the 5th dinner service of season 5, Andrea pulled a rather crafty move. She concealed some burnt Wellingtons, hiding them from her unsuspecting teammates. And then came the deception. She flat out lied, claiming that she was in the process of refiring those Wellingtons. Chef Ramsay, however, has an uncanny knack for sniffing out bullshit.
Yeah, shut up. What is this?
In absolutely no time, he unearthed a stash of wasted meat, and let's just say he wasn't a happy camper. The famous chef made sure that the entire red team witnessed the burnt Wellington she had tried to keep under wraps, and just to express his frustration, he did this.
Pile of shit.
Later in the service, Andrea found herself in another predicament. She informed Chef Ramsay that she needed an extra 4 minutes to get her Wellingtons just right. Chef Ramsay, with a raised eyebrow, called her out, noting that she'd given the same excuse earlier.
You're fucking up big time.
Yes, chef.
And I'm getting really pissed off because nothing's happening.
In an attempt to salvage the situation, she admitted that her timing was all over the place, and she hadn't communicated very well with Carol, who was holding it down at the fish station. Well, at least she wasn't deluded about her underwhelming performance. With that in mind, let's get into the egg relay challenge from season 7. Here, the chefs had to whip up 4 different egg dishes: poach, soft-boiled, scrambled, and my personal favorite, sunny side up. What's your go-to eggy delight? Let me know in the comments section down below. Now, the women's team found themselves short-staffed with 1 less member, and Siobhan was tasked with the job of cooking all the eggs solo.
Siobhan,
Yes, chef.
you're on your own today.
Yes, chef.
Ample instructions, right? Hard to mess up, you'd think. But when the clock started ticking with a 5-minute countdown, things took an unexpected turn. Siobhan, who was under the sway of Autumn's suggestions, decided to collaborate with her and Fran.
Siobhan, work with me and Fran, all right?
No problem.
Yeah, so she just gave in. Autumn ended up taking the reins on Siobhan's sunny side up egg in the red kitchen, while Siobhan focused solely on her poached egg. Not quite what they were instructed to do, right? And honestly, I blame Autumn here.
We have 5 minutes to make these eggs. Siobhan's got all this to do herself. I can make her sunny side up egg.
When the famous chef asked her how long she'd been boiling her soft-boiled egg, Siobhan first tried deflecting.
I just cook them every day, chef, so I have a very good grasp for how long they're cooked for.
How could she give a straightforward answer when the truth was incredibly embarrassing? But she did end up confessing that she'd received help from her teammates. Chef Ramsay was utterly dismayed and asked her why she didn't stick to the plan and cook her eggs solo.
Because there was pressure from my team. Are you serious? Not from my team, from Autumn.
Siobhan then tried to clarify, stating that Autumn had forced her into the collaboration, but Autumn retorted that she had merely suggested working together. The famous chef, not one to let things slide, pressed Siobhan to fess up which eggs she had actually prepared herself.
So you only poached 1 egg in 5 minutes?
I did 2 poached eggs.
How can I make it any more fucking clearer than that?
Siobhan, consumed by anger at herself for not standing up to Autumn, couldn't hold back her tears. She regretted not pushing Autumn away and taking charge. But if I'm being honest, even Autumn should have gotten criticism for failing to abide by the rules.
I shouldn't have listened to the teammates that were forcing me to do something that I should have known was wrong to do.
Meanwhile, Autumn showed no remorse whatsoever, feeling like she had just been thrown under the bus. She added that Siobhan didn't know how to keep quiet under pressure.
She doesn't have a lot of backbone, and under the pressure, she just doesn't know when to shut her mouth.
In the end, only Siobhan's poached egg was deemed worthy of Chef Ramsay's taste buds, and he declared it was delicious, awarding her 1 point. Whose side are you on, though? Speaking of breaking rules, how could I not mention Lacey from season 5? I'm convinced that she came to Hell's Kitchen on some sort of whim. She didn't care about the competition, was lousy, and constantly abandoned her team during the punishments.
You really want to start something with me? I'm not really afraid of it.
What a great teammate, right? Not gonna lie, her constant whining and threats to quit really got on my nerves. And a ton of viewers feel the same way. Okay, so it looks like I'm running out of time for today, but before I finish things up, here are some dishonorable mentions. Matthew from season 20, who snuck in a meat thermometer, and Vinny, the self-appointed judge, who sabotaged Raj by asking customers not to order sides. Make sure to drop those names in the comments section down below. Trust me, I'm gonna read them. Since my videos would probably be 5 hours long if I tried to cover everybody, be sure to join me on my channel's Discord server for free. There, we can keep the discussion going and expose more times that contestants broke the rules. And guess what? I even have an exclusive server for those of you who are interested. Well, I'm totally excited to see you there, but before you leave, make sure to smack that like, subscribe, and turn on my post notifications to see when my videos come out immediately. Also, don't forget to check out my latest video right here, since it's even crazier. I hope you guys have a fantastic day and have a good one, guys.